Peace be with you. I'm going to talk about drugs from a Muslim perspective. A lot of times you don't hear about drugs and addiction from the preachers at the pulpit because in all honesty speaking, these people, a lot of times they lived a life good enough to where they really don't think that that's a problem, where in fact that is a huge problem among people who call themselves Muslims in the West. I mean, people drink, they smoke, they do everything. And I want to talk about it from a perspective of an addict, right? I was an addict, and you have to say it like that because once an addict is always an addict, and that's like my first lesson that I want to convey to young Muslims that have never tried drugs. There's a reason why they say once an addict is always an addict. That's because once an addict is always an addict. Once you get that experience, there is a good chance that you are going to want to desire to feel that experience again. In my time, that was called chasing the ghost. Man, that first time you get high or drunk or whatever, or you first win in that gambling that first time, it gives you that dopamine rush to where you want to experience that again. And you're always going to want to experience that again because it's such a good feeling. It can be such a good feeling if you hit your drug, right? If you are a person that likes uppers, you like to feel the upper side and you hit you try the uppers, then everybody has a drug, man. Everybody has a drug. You just have to try enough of them to figure out what kind of experience you like. It's not that you're addicted to the drug, it's you're addicted to that experience. So that is why it's so dangerous. In the Quran, in the 5th chapter of the Quran, verses 90 to 93, God warns us about this, and this is why. God says, "O you who believe, intoxicants and gambling and altars set up and dividing by arrows are filth, devil's work. Avoid them, that you may be successful. Surely the devil is trying to introduce hatred and animosity among you by means of intoxicants and gambling, and to keep you away from prayer, and to cause you to forget about God. Will you not then stop?" And then it ends with, "And obey God and obey the messenger. But be warned, if you turn back on our messengers is just to clearly deliver, just to tell you, just like I'm trying to tell you, right?" And that's, Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Jesus and Prophet Moses and all those prophets, man, they were something else, right? But there are other people who are lower than them that can try to deliver you the same message. It's the same message. When I try to warn young Muslims about drugs, it's the same message. That is literally the message that God wants you to receive. And then God says, "Hey, but be warned." On the messenger is only to warn you. And that's it. So that is the problem. I don't think enough people are from the pulpits are warning the kids about these drugs, and nor do they have the capability to convey the terrible consequences of these choices. But people like me do. I've experienced that, and I fight that every day, and I'm going to fight it for the rest of my life. And you don't understand the feeling. You're not stronger than me. You're not stronger than the strong people who have failed this, the rich people that have become addicted. It's all the same thing. So that's my first warning. And my second advice for Muslims, for people who consider themselves Muslims but have that battle with addiction, is you have to pray. That has to be everything in your life. That has to be everything in your life, period. Because that is everything that defines a Muslim. Without that tool, it's just like a tool, man. It's a tool that you have to utilize in order to gain control over yourself. Because when you're an addict, the devil has a control over you. You do things that you wouldn't otherwise do to get that drug because you worship it. So now you need prayer. There's a reason why addiction is so hard, and there's a reason why you need God, and you need these tools from God. Is because the addiction is so powerful. The devil got you and he will not let go. And I know from personal experience. So you have to pray. If you're one of those people that has been able to, quit and stay quit, then you have to pray. Because you might be one tragedy away from just reverting back to your coping mechanisms. Those never go away. That's why they say once an addict is always an addict. So you have to pray. You have to keep every prayer that God has commanded in the Quran, no matter what, because if you're a Muslim, you're supposed to do that anyway. But for you, it's so much more important. Because guess what? in the Quran, the only time you can't really pray is if you're intoxicated. Then God defines your whole personality, your whole identity around prayer in the Quran, that of a Muslim, but then says, O you who believe, do not approach prayer while intoxicated until you know what you are saying. So if you made that mistake, sober up and come back. Prayer is everything you got. I still want to save you. You just got to pray. And that is the importance of prayer for an addict that feels that they are a Muslim. Because for you, God tells you exactly why you have prayer. You know, God tells us in the Quran, and I think that, I'm not sure what chapter this is. I think it's the 29th chapter, but it says, "O you who and recite that which has been revealed to you from your Lord, and keep up prayer. Surely prayer keeps away from intoxicants and evil, from indecency and evil, and remembrance of God is akbar. Remembrance of God is greatest." You know, God tells you that the purpose of intoxicants and gambling. You know, look at the 5th chapter in the 90 verses 90 through 93. It says that with intoxicants, the devil is trying to keep us away from prayer and to cause us to forget about God. While this other verse says that the purpose of prayer is remembrance of God and it protects us from evil. So if you're an addict Muslim, you have to pray. And that's your only chance. That is like you're drowning and you're looking for a rope, and that is your rope. You just got to take it. It's like in medicine. I can prescribe you medicine all you want. You still have to take it. The very antithesis, the exact opposite of prayer is intoxication. And in one, we are serving and remembering God, and in the other, we are serving and remembering the devil. That is why it is very important, if you've never tried drugs, never to try them. Ever, ever, ever. I cannot stress that enough. That's why I'm making a video 7 minutes long. And if you are a Muslim that has either quit or is struggling at any stage of quitting, for you, your first step is to keep up prayer like a Muslim should. And you will see that there are not enough hours in the day for you to be high. At least not all the time. But that's still way better than when you started. So that's it. Peace be with you.